Hi everyone, I've been asked to do a tutorial on how I do my thumb gusset in my pattern which is available for free on Ravelry called Simple Tunisian Mitts. What you need for the pattern is a double-ended crochet hook, which is also known as a crow hook. Mine I ordered off Amazon. You get a pack of 3 and it is a 4mm, 5mm and a 6mm. It is a Takumi, I think that's just the specific hook, and it's made by Clover, and they are absolutely brilliant. They're nice and smooth and they work really well. I'm not going to be showing you how to do the whole mitten. I'm merely going to show you how to do the thumb gusset and the increases. So what I've done is I've made a small swatch just big enough for me to show you how to do the thumb gusset. And as you will see on the pattern itself, it talks about, I don't know if you can see that, it talks about chaining 1, placing a stitch marker in the chain, increase 1 stitch, 1 Tunisian simple stitch, place a marker, increase, and then 1 simple stitch. So you are working with 3 stitches. You have your first stitch, then your increase, your second stitch, and an increase, and then your third one. And these are the 3 stitches that you're going to be placing your stitch markers on, because you will be doing increases between your first and your second and your third. Right, so let's get started. So what you're going to do is, I have my first Tunisian simple stitch. I'm going to put my stitch marker through there. And now to do a nice increase, if you move that straight stitch to the side, you'll see there's a very pretty V there. So that would be your chain from your crocheting that you pull through. Now if you put your hook through the middle of that, you'll see there's a V on the back that holds the stitch nicely and it stops it from making holes. So if you yarn over and pull through, that would be your first increase. Then you have your second simple stitch, which you need to put your stitch marker on. And we're going to move that simple stitch off to the side so we can see that chain nicely. And we stick our hook through there, yarn over, and then your third simple stitch, and we put our stitch marker through there. I like these little stitch markers. I think they're called bulb safety pins. I've used these before, but I tend to move my work around a lot, and these little ones tend to twist themselves out, and I find them in my shoes, I find them on the floor. They're never in my work where I need them. Right, so what we're going to do is carry on with this row until we come round to the next set of increases. So we just do our forward row, and in this technique we turn around, pick up our other working yarn and pull through your 2 stitches the way you would if you were doing a return row in normal Tunisian, but as this is in the round, this is where that double-sided hook comes in handy. So we're going to go round and round until we get to our stitch markers. Okay. Right, now we're ready to do our next row with our increases. So there's our first stitch marker. So we're going to do that stitch as normal. We'll do our previous increase, the same as the first stitch. Now here is our center stitch, so we're going to need to do an increase between our previous increase and the middle stitch. So we go through the center of that chain again and pull through. Our center stitch is just a normal one, and then an increase again straight after that center stitch. Then our increase from the previous row and our third simple stitch that had our other stitch marker on. And then we're going to continue this way for another 2 rows until we have our 4 increases between our first, second and third Tunisian simple stitch. Let's see how far I can stretch this before I have to turn around and do my backwards row. There we go. One more front one before we reach our stitch markers again. Right, so there's our stitch marker. So we're going to turn the work just to catch up with it in the back. Right, so we have our 3 stitch markers. We now have our first Tunisian stitch with 2 increases between it, our middle Tunisian stitch with 2 increases between it, and then our third one. Now we're going to make our next increase between the increases from the previous row and the middle stitch. So we do our first Tunisian stitch that has the marker on it, our original increase, the increase from the previous row, and then we need to increase for this row. So it's going to be through the middle of that chain, yarn over and pull through. We do our center stitch, then again another increase after that, so through the center of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, our increase from the previous row, the increase from row 9, and our third stitch which has the stitch marker through it. So as you can see, it's starting to make little lines coming up as we're doing the increases, and it still stays nice and neat. When you have a yarn that is the same color, whereas I'm using different ones here so that you can see them a lot easier, it will almost be invisible where you're making the increases. So unless you know what you're looking for, you're not going to find the increases. So let's go through like that, turn around to catch up. So we have one more row of increases, and then I'll show you how nicely the thumb gusset starts coming out. So it just fits the hand so much better than just a straight glove, which ends up leaving that part of your thumb getting really, really cold, whereas a thumb gusset just comes up a little bit high and just helps, especially when you have the freezing cold weather. So let's just catch up to the other side. Nearly there. Alright, so it just gets it a little bit closer so it's easier for us to see when we do the increases. Okay, so we're back in the beginning. You'll see there that the thumb gusset is now starting to show. So we have our first Tunisian stitch with our stitch marker, so we're just going to pull through the loop as usual with that one. Our increase from row 9, our increase from row 10, our increase from row 11, and now we need to make a new one. So again, through the center of that chain, yarn over, pull through our center stitch, yarn over, pull through, twist that chain so you can see it nicely, through the center of that chain for our new increase, the increase from row 11, the increase from row 10, increase from row 9, and our third Tunisian simple stitch. Okay, so now we're going to go around until we have finished this row. Okay. Our last stint before we get to our thumb gusset again. That's a stitch before. There we go. So for the next row, I'm going to do the single stitches right round so I can show you how to do the join where you finished your thumb gusset and you cast off those stitches on the top and then join up your glove so that you don't have like a big hole when you join the rounds together. So that will just give you a nice idea of how we do that. So we're going to cast off 9 stitches. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches to go round. So we go on through 1 stitch and through the second stitch to cast off those stitches. You want to do this 9 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So basically you've cast off the 4 increases, the middle stitch, and the 4 increases on the other side. So that gives you 9 stitches. And then we just carry on going round as you would normally for your Tunisian in the round until we get back to those stitches. Let's go around. I just need to get some more yarn. It seems to be getting stuck. Turn that around. And I'll catch them up. What I like to do as well, that works nicely, is if you do your simple stitch through there, pull through the 2 loops that join the thumb together, yarn over, and proceed with the rest of them. So it's basically like a decrease around the fingers so that it brings it up nice and snug together. And then we proceed with that Tunisian row. So when you come to work those, you're going to have it nice and snug. Let me get one more stitch in so it's nice and neat when we go around to do the others. And I can show you how to do that gusset closure so that you don't have a big gap or hole where you've brought the stitches together. Right, so here we go. So we have, you'll see if I hold the stitches like that, we have 1 stitch to go through there. We're going to go through both of those to give them a nice tug closer together. There we go. So it brings it nice and snug. And then we proceed in the round. I'm just going to do the backward pass of the yellow yarn so that you can see how nicely it closes up that hole when you crochet the 2 together to do the thumb gusset. That should do it. So there you have it, how to do the increases on the simple Tunisian mitts, and how to close that top part nicely so that it doesn't make a gap. I hope you liked this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy my pattern for my mittens. Thank you, bye.